What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Black Butler, Season 5, Episode 7. So in this one, Sieglin completes her ultimate magic. Well, magic is a little bit of a stretch. And so she does it. She wants Seal and Sebastian to visit her in the future. And so Seal reads the letter that, the queen had, had sent to him. Basically, the queen wants to, I guess, have tea with Sieglind. Seal's like, crap, this is going to be difficult. So then he and Sebastian go into Sieglind's bedroom to take her to the outside world. Sieglin, being Sieglin, she she thinks they're there for other reasons, and so Seal's like, no, he can't freaking handle it. I mean, he probably gets annoyed by Sieglin more than he does with Elizabeth, who's like his fiance, and so and basically he's like no, and Seal's like, do you want to turn my butler into a criminal? I mean, gosh, it's so dirty. So basically, Seal and Sebastian take her to where I guess where the werewolves are at. And they see the elder showing, celebrate the magic being completed. And then basically, you know, how so how they do amazing they show her, I guess the werewolf slayer reveals there's a secret room. And that basically nothing is as it seems. So Sieglin sees all the werewolves talk with the elders. She's like, "What's going on?" And the werewolf's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" It's like the people upstairs should have dealt with it. And then Sebastian cuts off one of the werewolves' heads in half. Well, it's revealed to be a mask, and so basically all the werewolves are people wearing suits. So there are no werewolves. And basically what Sieglin made was not magic. It was a toxic gas. It's yeah. Oof. Yeah, it's dark. And then so basically they're basically even see and so basically she thought it was miasma, whatever. But it's like, okay. So yeah, it's not a miasma, it's not magic. It's a freaking you know it's a freaking toxin. Like it's a gas. It's poison that could really kill someone. And yeah, and it's called Solon. And which basically, I'm trying to think of what type of real life gas that can you know, actually translate to in real life. Basically, So yeah, and Solon basically, yeah, or the ultimate spell. That's probably gonna be easier. It's basically Solon stands for Sullivan Let's Waft Ideal Nibble. It's an acronym. Yeah, basically it's a very bad gas, and so it's supposed to be comparable to sarin gas, which was something that was developed in 1938 in Germany. Now, it's a gas that was developed but never actually used. So, yeah, and so yeah, basically that makes things interesting because it's like, okay, hypothetically, is the gas going okay, when's the gas going to release? Who's going to get killed by it? Because let's be real, in every entertainment franchise, when almost every time when someone develops a toxic gas or when that's a MacGuffin, it's going to get released. Someone's getting poisoned by it. That's just a fact. So who is it? I haven't read the source material. The only thing I know is about basically a little bit of the ending of this arc. Mostly what happens in the mansion, like in the Phantom Hive mansion at the end. Which, so yeah, that which I don't know if that'll be that. I don't know if that'll be the end of this season or that'll be like next season. It's probably gonna be this season to have a cliffhanger. Anyway, that's besides the point. So yeah, this is gonna lead to like I guess Sebastian's gonna have to fight all the werewolves. Where, so yeah, looks like a bunch of the fighting's gonna happen, and that seems to have been hinted at in like the intro, the opening with also it's like some of the other servants for Seal. Obviously, they're doing some fighting with the redhead, like I can't remember her name, holding like a sniper rifle or whatever. Which if I recall correctly, that was something that was done in an OVA from, but it wasn't shown in the actual like manga. I don't think like before then. Like a lot of them, like because I doubt I don't think this series really has left anything out. I don't think Black Butler has left any manga material out from what they've adapted so far. They've just done filler. And I think it's been a while. It's been a while since I saw like seasons 1 and 2. But I recall season 2 OVA, I think was where they revealed like some of the backstories of like those the three like servants. And the redhead was like an assassin who Sebastian got to work for to help protect Seal. And of course, we saw Finians in the manga story or origin story in this arc, which is like it's kind of similar to what we got in the OVA. Anyway, so yeah, it was like some fighting's gonna happen soon. I to see Sebastian about to go ham on these villagers, and it should be fun. I really like this episode. Looking forward to the next week's. Multi Gear Strive Dual Rulers, Episode 7. So in this one, you have Sin, Axel, Kai, Dizzy, you know Soul. They're all fighting like Nerval's like who turned to a giant monster, and then basically like everyone's fine. Unica is you know trying to contemplate everything and being a gear and all that. Sin basically cheers her up a little bit. She helps fight Nerval. Nerval summons all these clones. Everyone has to fight. Basically, like it's very action packed. It's like they're just trying to fight Nerval, all his clones and everything. And then you have Remlethal, Elfeld. They're helping because there's like a bunch of clones that appear, and there's like a basically they beat Nerval for a little bit. He retreats, but he's like Jacko claims he'll regenerate. So like basically you have Bridget, Vernon. They're involved. They get involved because like everyone in the world, basically Gears and humans have to team up against Nerval, and so they all have to fight him. Then basically like you know then yeah, Nerval captures Unica and then basically like they do something because Nerval, due to the way he's done himself, has kind of become like a gear, like somewhat. And so basically Sin uses he tells all the gears in the world to fight the clones of Nerval. So that, it buys time for their big weapon, the magic weapon, to charge up. So they can get through a rift and deal with Nerval's main body. So, basically it ends with Sin arriving at Nerval's core. Yeah, I mean, eh, it's not much. I mean, it doesn't really hook me. I don't care. I mean, the animation just. The character designs are cool, but the animation quality just sucks. Like, there's 3D in anime just very rarely works. Like, it took a little for Chainsaw Man's animation to grow on some people. And, like, it was like, this is, like, it took a while. And, then you have kinda the Great Snow Sea. I wouldn't necessarily call that 3D animation, which is a little more, I want to call that 3D animation great. I mean, but there wasn't a lot of big time visual sets to where it just looked like garbage if they tried to do some stuff. Whereas, it wasn't like with this, with 3D, it just looks bad. Because of all, it's so fast paced, so much action going on. When it's like a slower show, more like a slice of life thing, 3D stuff won't look as bad because there's not as big time motion going on. It'll still look like crap, just not as bad. And that did help pioneer this great snow sea. Well, in this, since it's like an action show, yeah, it just looks awful. And that's why, Ufotable, we don't like Ufotable doing, 3D, like, like with Demon Slayer or the Tales franchise. We never really like 3D. Like the only time 3Ds ever looked good for Ufotable was in like the season 3 premiere for Demon Slayer with swords with that sword where they were just basically put someone's budget into the Infinity Castle design for like in the Swordsman's Village premiere. But yeah, but in this show 3 sucks. The 3 animation sucks. Like this will look so much better in 2D, but it's also going to use some better writing. I mean, I know fighting games don't always have the most, you know, they don't have the most like, great storytelling. They don't always have the best. There's some good like, I mean, like from a story standpoint, you could maybe make an argument that Smash Bros. Brawl has some of the best storytelling in any fighting game. But I mean, yeah, like I mean, look, like obviously Mortal Kombat has some really good stuff. You know, especially Scorpion's Revenge. Like I was argue Scorpion's Revenge is the best Mortal Kombat movie. Anyway, but Guilty Gear, I'm not too familiar with Guilty Gear, and that could be impacting my view of the show. But it's like I like this. I watched it because okay, this is a video game show. Let's see how they do. Because I'm gonna trust the anime studio over like Hollywood. Like and I'm guessing this show it's relatively like faithful to the source material. Like I'm guessing it is faithful to the source material to for what I'm guessing. I'm from what little I know, this seems faithful to it. I mean, it's not necessarily disrespecting it. It just sucks. So like it's not so kind of like from what I mean, which sometimes that happens. Like I never saw the Speed Racer live action movie. I heard from what I've seen from like visuals and stuff, it is like for the most part pretty faithful to its source material, but it just sucked. And sometimes you have that. Mortal Kombat has a lot has had multiple bad movies. Those two movies in the '90s, they were faithful to source material for the most part. They both were trash. But I mean, I'm just bored by this show. It's like Sin just looks like a freaking retard, and not the like. There and thing is, anime has been good at making retards compelling protagonists. I mean, there's a reason Goku, Naruto, Luffy, you know, not Natsu Dragneel. There's a reason those retards are compelling protagonists. Good writing. Okay, for Goku, once you get past Cell games, I wouldn't necessarily say good writing there, but that's the point. But like, you need good writing to make a character be be compelling. And like, Sin's not a compelling protagonist. He like, there's difference between like he seems like naive. Like he doesn't just seem like I mean like with Luffy in One Piece. There's a lot Luffy doesn't understand. Like he forgets a lot of stuff and he definitely doesn't understand a lot about the world. Like I mean, granted, for 2 year time skip, he was on island for basically the majority of the time. Or as far as we're concerned, like as far as manga is concerned, he was on that island. I can't remember what it was called the entire 2 years. Of course, there was a special, like a filler special that had him leave for a brief period of time to help, Boa Hancock with something. I mean, but unless the manga confirms that to be true, that didn't happen. I mean, kind of like with stuff with the Uda in One Piece Red. Well, the backstory anyway, which that backstory probably did happen. It just because I think there's like a silhouette of her in the manga. Anyway, besides the point. But like Luffy, he doesn't understand a lot. He can't uh he can't swim. I mean that's due to his devil fruit. Can't navigate a ship. Can't swing a sword. Can't shoot a gun. I don't even know if he can. I mean, hopefully I mean, he's probably not the best at reading. Doesn't probably understand much about the world government. Like exactly how the politics of the world work. But he's still compelling, even though he's naive because he's quality right. This show, Sin is naive about things, but it's not good right. He just comes off as naive and retarded. Like you got to use because they're not using it for humor. Like with One Piece, Naruto, Fairy Tail, um, Dragon Ball. Yeah, you know, uh, I'm trying to think what other franchises also have retired protagonists, but they have good right. Let's see, Orient with Mushashi. Yes, I said Orient's a good show. I stand by that. And Eden Zero. Why those are good is because they use the retardation of their characters, of their protagonists, for humor. This show is not good at using the retardation of sin. Like it's just not. This is not a good show. And I don't care about the villains. I don't care about any other supporting character. Like this is just a boring show. I mean, I'll finish the show, and I guessing it ends next week. 'Cause I saw something is like this episode was the penultimate episode, so next week should be the finale. That's actually surprising. I expect to go like 12 or 13 episodes, like a regular anime season or core. But yeah, I'll watch next week's, and if it is the finale, I'll give a full series review. Yaiba Samurai Legend Episode 7. So in this one, you know, Onimaru sends Mr. Spider to resurrect Kojiro Sasaki, who Yaiba's group's trying to find the sword of. You know, basically. So when he does that, once he learns they're hanging the gang your island, Onimaru. So he tells Mr. Spider to resurrect Sasaki, like resurrects Kojiro and turns like a servant. So Mr. Spider does something where he uses Kojiro's sword to open a rift through time to grab Kojiro's soul at the moment of death, and then put it into his corpse, which he does. And then Kojiro wakes up and he hears Musashi like when like Yaiba's group arrives at the statue of Kojiro. Musashi talks to the statues, like praise, starts like praise him as like Kojiro is like a good sorcerer. Kojiro's the real Kojiro is behind the statues, like, oh, so Musashi can say some nice words and all that. Then Musashi's like, but you got nothing on me. I'm a way better swordsman than you. It's like way more handsome. And then Kojiro's like, all right, no, no. So he basically goes, he like challenges Musashi to a fight. Once he's shocked at first seeing Musashi's like an older, he's like, "What happened to you? You used to be almost as handsome as me." Which Musashi responds with like, "No, I was way more handsome than you." So like they're just being petty. So when they fight, then Yaiba tries fighting Kojiro. He has no chance of winning against Kojiro. And in this episode, he had no chance. So then sometimes where Yaiba and Nabako get sucked through this rift in time to like a few days before, the duel between in that time period between Musashi and Kojiro. Where basically, so here's how Musashi described the duel happening. In order to get like basically as swordsmen, they were evenly matched. So the way how Musashi gave himself an edge was he made sure he was late to the duel because Kojiro was not very patient and was very pissed off by the time Musashi arrived. So that agitated him a little bit, and that made him a little more reckless and with his sword fighting, and so not as controlled. So that gave Musashi an edge that allowed him to kill Kojiro. It's not a very honorable way for a samurai to win a duel. So Yaiba and Yamako, there in the past, they meet Musashi. He was like taller, and so like it's shown that like he and Kojiro are evenly matched, and so Yaiba tells Musashi that he's from the future. He doesn't get too much detail, one because he's kind of too stupid to give too much. But they arrive at this house that Musashi is staying in with this one girl who looks a lot like Sayaka, like looks very similar. And so, Yaiba, basically when he mentions that he sees that, Musashi's trained, like he joins it on train so that he can fight Kojiro when he gets back to his time. So like he knows that like once Kojiro dies, there's a chance that a portal will open that allow him and Namako to go to the future. And so once the 6 days pass, you know, basically Musashi like basically he's net basically next day is the duel, and Yaiba randomly slips that he knows that Musashi plans to show up late to the duel in order to throw Kojiro off his game, and the girl's like, "There's no way Yoshi would do something so dishonorable." But she's like, "Yeah, no, I would not do that." The girl's like, "See?" Yeah, I was like, "Okay." And Naoko's like, "We gotta be quiet. We don't want to risk changing the results of this duel because that would prevent us from being able to come." And basically, yeah, I was like, "Trap. Well, what if the duel stasis doesn't? If duel changes, what happens to us?" So like, basically, like the duel, it's a it's just a it was a great episode. You have Yaiba just not knowing how to interact like so. Basically, they go 400 years in the past. So I think the years typically arrive in was 1612. So if it's 400 years, now I don't know if that's rounding or it's exactly 400. If it's exactly, that means the show takes place in 2012. Now the manga, uh, so like the manga for Yaiba, it took. I mean, that series was from like the the manga was from 1988 through 1993. So if you were to say it started in 19, it takes place in 98, that means like there was like a 376-year difference, which some people would say just say 400 just around it. And some people would. I don't know if that's what. Some people say 400 just to keep it consistent like that as a rounding thing, even if it's not necessarily the case. So, you know, who knows? Like I don't know when this show, like, because you have smart, like, concept of smartphones and selfies, so which I think that was a filler thing. So this could take place current day in this show. I mean, doesn't make much. It's definitely an older style show. Like you could tell with the character designs, the fact that the Yaiba's hair is spiky because that was a very that's not a style you see as much these days. With the spiky hair and stuff. You see it some, but not a lot. Like hairstyles have started to go a little bit back to where they were, like before Dragon Ball. But basically, like, you know, this was a very good episode. I really like this episode. Yaiba just being funny. Kojiro, that was an interesting introduction to him. I thought it was funny. I thought it was great. So yeah, Musashi was just freaking funny. I mean, it's funny. And I don't know if Kojiro's gonna have. I haven't read the manga or seen the original anime, so I don't know if Kojiro has a similar pervertedness as Musashi does. He also has those issues. I mean, Musashi, stereotypical old man who's a pervert. Which I mean, really, that's basically every old man in anime is a pervert. That is just a fact. They're basically about all of them. I mean, what Naruto, where you had like Hiruzen and Jiraiya, Dragon Ball with Master Roshi and Elder Kai, obviously Yaiba with Musashi. You know, you don't necessarily have that with Bleach. You don't necessarily have a lot of like verted characters in Bleach. Okay, Kai had with Ishin, but he's not like extreme. Okay, he kind of is old. He's probably like a few hundred years old. Ishin's like the only major pervert in that. But yeah, this is just so funny. This was a great episode. Like this is one of the best shows of the year. Like this is objectively one of the best shows of 2025. It's not the best, that would be One Piece. But this has been a really good show. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. And that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching. And like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.